this episode exists. While I'm not as horrified by these in-the-house redesigns as other people seem to be, I have to wonder why Big Idea decided to carry them over to the original show. I can imagine a child watching this right next to Beauty and the Beat and wondering why everyone looks so different.
Why in the world did you bring an elephant onto the countertop?
Correction, how in the world did he bring an elephant onto the countertop? Imagination? Then how come he didn't wait to summon the elephant after the countertop? Actually, scratch that, because the episode starts on the typical cry of
Roll film!
So why do we need these animals in the first place if they already have a film made? Did they just come back to watch? I don't know if it was intentional or just coincidence that the first post-house VeggieTales video had a message about trusting God's plan. It's like the writers are saying, hey, you don't like the redesigns? Well, screw you! These redesigns are what God wants and we're sticking to it regardless of how much you complain.
I think Chris is really gonna love the orange ark, the giant squid, and the really cool dirigible.
But if I recall correctly, none of those things were mentioned in the story of Noah.
So you're just taking offense to this now? I thought after the Chocolate Bunny Factory, Slushy Bombs, Pie Wars, Islands Perpetual Tickling, Dodgeballs, Tubas, and amusement parks, you'd just be numb to all these revisions. These two new characters only exist to have special guest star voices clog their windpipes.
You can't even reach the pedals. How are you doing that?
I'm gonna build a swing, and then right next to that swing, I'll build another swing.
Why would you do that?
Because it'd be rude if he didn't. You are two people. Two people would need two swings. It's basic logic. But no, let's use this opportunity to sing a song about pears. Does it contribute to the plot? Does it teach a valuable lesson? Is it at least funny?
Then I have to say it's soundtrack fodder.
Oh, that's great. You redesign all your main characters beyond recognition, but the penguins, pigs, dogs, and camels can stay. That's wonderful.
Grab a tool. It's hammer time.
Get it? It's a reference to a song from the 90s. That's automatically funny.
I'm gonna just tell Dad that this crazy project has to stop. We'll unbuild this monstrosity, and everything can get back to normal.
Be gentle.
Of course I will! I'm a lady!
Because apparently all women need to be gentle, and this accident just made the carrot less of a woman. Noah's Ark, a lesson in arbitrary gender roles. Remember kids, it's perfectly safe to jump on fast-moving girders, especially when they're being controlled by this girl, as long as you're wearing a hard hat.
You bought the whole hardware store.
I take it hardware stores were pretty small in 2500 BC.
Mom, it's good to be home, even if I barely recognize it.
Seriously, I've been home for 5 minutes and I don't recognize any of you. Mom, didn't you have a French accent before I left?
When I heard what God told your father, I was a little rattled.
Our whole world's going to be destroyed in just a few days. That makes me a little rattled.
The earth is going to be flooded, Shem. God has seen that no one cares about doing what's right anymore, so he's gonna start over.
Well, way to be blunt about all the genocide in this story. VeggieTales, the only preschool show with a body count over 2 million. And now let's sing a happy song about the perfectness of God's world just a few days before he completely destroys it.
Open the doors! Open the stalls!
Get the shovels!
It's funny because poop. But I'll be honest, selling the Ark like a cruise ship was pretty cool, and it's the kind of creativity I've come to expect from the show at this point. But I still have to wonder how you sell gym equipment and karaoke machines to a bunch of non-anthro animals. Still a sin, but the fun kind of sin that I actually enjoy.
And to answer your next big question, we will all help with animal cleanup.
And that's poop joke number 2. Ah, crap, now I'm doing it. Alright, no more poop jokes. That is my duty.
You got a name for this ship? I'm keeping it simple. Ark.
I think it should be called Noah's Ark.
Roll credits. I'm not actually gonna skip the silly song this time because unfortunately there's not much silly here to skip, and that's just sad.
Okay, kids, ready for the Easter egg hunt?
Making us feel bad for not watching this on Easter. They're particularly careful not to give Junior any lines for this song, almost as if there'd be too many Jimmies to rustle if he spoke too loud. I don't think a metal detector will help you find plastic eggs, Larry. Cruelty to imaginary snakes. This supposedly rare golden egg is in very plain sight on top of a small hill. Makes you wonder how it took so long for anyone to find it. Really? We need to learn about sharing here? I understand you want to remind us you're still a Christian show, but not during the silly songs, please.
I had a dream. There were birds all around me.
One bird.
We've been cooped up in a boat on our front lawn for 7 days. And oh, has it rained one drop? No!
Genesis 7:4a, God does tell Noah when the floods would start, so why didn't Noah just tell the rest of the family? The only reason I can think of is so they could make this scene work.
No lipstick.
Oh, you thought the rising rain would be enough for drama? No, let's throw in lightning strikes and randomly exploding geysers, because if God's gonna destroy the world, he might as well give it some flair. Sorry, that's not water. That's the second coming of the smooze. To be fair though, nothing can stop the smooze. Of all the leaks to strike through the ship, how come these giant glass windows are always perfectly fine? Aren't they the most fragile thing on the surface of the ship?
Ark.
Ark.
God promised that it would rain for 40 days and 40 nights.
Oh, so now you let the family in on God's timeline, but not while they're doubting it. I think there's a message in there somewhere.
So far, I don't see any signs of...
That was easy.
Lens flare.
Okay, I'll give them some credit. Their umbrella patterns actually match up with the pattern of Noah's umbrella on Minnesota Cuke. However, where they don't match up is the ark itself. They steal the almost squished by an elephant mid-song joke from The Lion King. Alright, can we just stop with the juvenile poop humor? I always knew this episode was full of crap, but this is ridiculous. Hey, I see what you're doing back there, and joke's on you. The story of Jonah hasn't happened yet.
Shem said to meet him here.
He just said, meet me by a pile of randomly stacked crates?
Even after the redesign, Bob is still excellent at VeggieSins.
Plan B, a flying machine to take us into the air and away from this seasick life.
Is this part of God's plan?
Well, how do we know this isn't part of God's plan? And don't say because he hasn't spoken, because if we're to apply this moral to everyday lives, then God doesn't usually speak.
What have you been up to all day?
Could have said that without the food in your mouth.
It'll be okay, Mrs. Hamster. Your heart will go on.
But your species won't.
That wave could flip us over.
In case you couldn't tell, that giant wave just knocked over a whale. I know you had less than 2 seconds to register what that tiny little thing was, but sorry, nobody plays. They survived this. Oh, I get it. It's the forbidden fruit. In case you couldn't tell that Shem's machine went against God's plan. I mean, I sure didn't. Take a few people out to sea because that's all the balloon will fit, leave the rest of the group to tend for the animals, and when the balloon team finds land, they'll come back for the rest of the group to follow. I don't see how this plan could be flawed other than God's orders to not leave the Ark, which they will later disobey anyway when they send birds out to follow this exact same plan. Obligatory Wilhelm. Japheth was literally about to slap the squid with a fish. I guess that's how this tradition got started.
This is the Bible story of the Ark, Noah's Ark, and you are not in it. So go home. You can come back for Job.
And then Shem got so depressed that he shaved his eyebrows between shots. Wait, never mind. There they are.
Dad, I'm wondering if these birds might be a part of God's plan.
Maybe. Why would you think that?
I'll repeat. 1, they're about as likely as the blimp that everyone shunned. And 2, it looks like your plan is to speed up the process of God's plan by sending birds to take his sign. In other words,
Is this part of God's plan?
It's improving on it. I'm just helping him along.
also, what's to say the birds aren't going to be attacked by a giant squid on the way back?
Maybe they found places to nest.
I'd say so. And that means there's enough land out there for all of us.
Seriously? God's plan aside, that's kind of a giant stretch of logic.
You kids go forth and multiply.
I have no idea what that means.
I'll explain it to you later.
And here you thought the show stopped doing adult humor.
It's all right there in Genesis 6 through 9.
Check it out, kids.
Yeah, check out the story as it goes further in depth about planetary genocide, sex, and that one time Noah got drunk and naked in his garden. Must I end this video with a mere sentence? This insipid little film no-handedly drowned a 20-year-old franchise, banished it to the dark realms of a subscription-based online streaming. What was once a multi-millionaire series with groundbreaking animation, a strong sense of bizarre humor, and cleverly handled Christian morality culminates in this. And that's not talking about what I've been through. So much emotional baggage, so much reevaluating good and bad animation, so many projects I had to up and scrap because you set the bar so low that sending any other episode would look too mean-spirited and make me look like the bad guy. Noah's Ark. Do you really want to know what sets you apart from all the other episodes? You know, it's not the redesigns, it's not the songs, it's not even Wayne Brady. Noah's Ark, of all the VeggieTales episodes I have seen and sinned, you are the most boring. Seriously, the redesigns are the only thing that makes you remotely interesting. I mean, look at your title, for starters. Noah's Ark. Is that the most creative thing you can come up with? Did Shem and Noah's amazing Ark adventure not test well with the focus groups or something? Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark. That just screams desperation to me. Yeah, we basically redesigned all our characters, but look, we swear, we're still VeggieTales. We're still telling Bible stories. Bob and Larry get top billing, even though their roles are equivalent to Timon and Pumbaa in this story. Yeah, just shove all our main characters up our backside. They won't sell copies at all! It's ironic, because their first episode was one of their biggest marketing risks, and their last episode plays it so safe they actually lie about who stars in it. What hurts the most about this episode is that I really can't call it bad. It's not harmful to kids in any way, there's nothing in it that really makes me cringe, but aside from the redesigns, there's really nothing new here. Even for a VeggieTales fan, everything this episode has to offer, we've seen it before and seen it done better. We already know the story of Noah. We've already been taught to trust God's plan even through the hard times. We've already seen what happens when we don't follow God's plan and do things our own way. In fact, the only reason I could gather for why this episode needs to exist is to prove the show's work is done. Everything good that VeggieTales could do in a 45-minute format has been done before. All the stories, all the lessons. Anything further would just result in the show retreading on itself and other properties. Deep down, we've probably known this since at least Pistachio. It's gotten to a point where, for the show to remain fresh and unique, it has to dramatically change its format. And whether we like it or not, that's where VeggieTales in the House comes in. If there's anything good I can say about this spin-off that anyone can agree with, it's different. Episodes are told in an 11-minute structure instead of 20 or 40. They all take place in one expansive world instead of each episode having its own canon. The writers spend more time building on a world that's already made instead of always starting from scratch. And the stories are so short yet so plentiful they don't have to be as elaborate or epic as they used to be. For once, Big Idea could just tell the stories they want to tell and nothing more. This is where Noah's Ark fails. They took a story they could only write about 15 minutes for and stuffed it with pointless songs and inconsequential action scenes that were all admittedly cool, but contribute nothing that we haven't seen before. VeggieTales in the House may have its stupid moments, its very stupid moments, but it never tried to be more than it can handle. No matter how much I might make fun of all the plot holes and inconsistencies throughout the franchise, new and old, VeggieTales' main goal was always to teach Christian moral values in their own fun and goofy way. And as long as they're doing that, it's all I could ever ask for.